Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of Anything But Mid. I'm your host, Ian Sachs from Mid Major Madness, and we have hit the holiday season. Christmas just a couple days away, and that means the new year a few days after that as well. And while we have trekked our way through most of the non-conference portion of the season so far, and we'll start right out with the latest top 25 ranking from the Associated Press. Now, we started the season with 2 mid-majors in the top 25, and that number has doubled to this point. 4 mid-majors ranked in the latest AP top 25, led by Florida Atlantic coming in at number 14. Then right behind them, just 2 spots behind, Colorado State sitting at 10-1 on the season. James Madison, the lone mid-major undefeated team, coming in at number 20. They're 11-0 at this point in the season. One of 3 undefeated teams remaining in the country, along with Houston and Oklahoma. And then finally rounding it out is at number 23, the Tigers. They are playing some really good basketball as of late, 9-2 on the season. The Memphis Tigers, 9-2 on the season, entering the top 25 at number 23 in the latest AP ranking, and they have played some exceptional basketball as of late. 3 straight wins over top 25 teams to get them into the top 25. First knocking off Texas A&M, then picking up a close victory over Clemson, knocking those Tigers from the ranks of the unbeatens, and then most recently a blowout victory over Virginia. Now, Memphis, this is the first time in program history in the regular season that they knocked off 3 straight top 25 teams. They are 12-2 against Power 5 opponents over the last 2 seasons. 4 wins against top 25 teams so far this season. So Penny Hardaway's squad, we've talked about them already this season. They are a veteran group and really peaking at the right time as the calendar is about to flip to 2024. Some news out of conference realignment. And while we've been waiting for this shoe to drop for a long time, and we have 2 new mid-majors, Washington State and Oregon State, they're heading to the WCC for all sports except football and baseball. They agreed to go to the Mountain West for football. Reports say that they're looking to play baseball independently, but still nonetheless for basketball, which is what we care about, they are heading to the WCC for the next 2 years at least. Now, this gives them time to figure out what they're going to do with the Pac-12 breaking up. They have the right to the Pac-12 so they can try to rejuvenate the conference, or they were in talks for the Mountain West. That stalled to go there for all sports, but football there to the Mountain West, WCC getting basketball. So what does this mean for basketball terms? Well, the WCC was at 10 teams, lost BYU, so dropped to 9. Now this brings the conference back up to 11 teams. It's been dominated by Gonzaga, really on both the men and the women's side over the last decade plus for both sports. But this adds some new blood to the program, as to the conference, I should say, with 2 teams that have had a fair amount of success in the Pac-12. Remember, Oregon State went to the Elite 8 back in 2021 on the men's side. The women have been to the NCAA tournament a number of times over the last dozen years, 7 times in the last decade under their current head coach, Scott Rueck. And as for Washington State, their women have been to 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments. The Washington State men have finished in the top 80 in KenPom 4 consecutive seasons. So this breathes some new blood into the WCC. Of course, it provides much more competition at the top for the likes of Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So exciting times if you're a WCC fan, and we'll see where this goes as Washington State and Oregon State are headed to the WCC. A couple of games of note from the last handful of days, and we'll start in New Mexico, where the Lobos picked up a 1-point victory over in-state rival New Mexico State. Now, this game came down to the wire. It was a 4-point Aggie lead with a minute to go, but then the Lobos got a 3-pointer, a layup, and a steal, all in the final 60 seconds to seal the victory. 9 straight wins for Richard Pitino's squad, and of course, that big series sweep of their in-state rival, winning the first game in a blowout. This one coming down to the wire, but coming out on the right side of it as well. We'll head east now, and St. Joe's dominated Iona for their 6th straight win of the season, and the Hawks playing really well as of late. Of course, 2 straight wins against NCAA tournament teams from a season ago. That big win over Iona, and they shot 52% in the game for that one, limited the Gales to just 27% in that contest. So the Hawks playing really well as of late. Now we'll shift back west for our final game, and it's Utah State, who earned a 1-point victory over San Francisco. This one coming down to the wire as well. And how about the Aggies? They've won 10 straight games to move to 11-1 on the season for just the 4th time in program history. Time to spotlight a couple of women's basketball teams, and we'll start with VCU. They picked up a big win over Old Dominion, knocking the Monarchs from the ranks of the unbeaten by a final score of 64-50. Now, this was a matchup of 2 of the best defenses in the country. ODU giving up just 48 points per game, and VCU right behind them at 50.5 per contest. And they are 10-1. The Rams are now 10-1 on the season, winners of 7 straight. Now, this game really came down to a 17-2 run in that second quarter for VCU to help power them to that victory. This is their best start in a decade at 10-1. We move up the East Coast now to Fairfield, and they are also have just 1 loss on the season. They're 9-1, winners of 7 straight. The lone loss on the year coming against Vanderbilt by just 3 points. They have wins over Rutgers and Sacred Heart, St. John's, Fordham. Most recently picking up 2 wins to begin MAC play, both of them by 18-plus points. So the Stags looking really good after finishing just 500 last season. And then we'll move out west to a nationally ranked team, and it's the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They have picked up a gigantic win over number 3 Stanford earlier this season, 96-78. The final into that one earlier this month, and they also followed that up with an overtime win over Cal. They're ranked 13th in the net this season, have 5 players in double figures, so the Zags looking every bit like the part of the class in the WCC. A lot of great action as we head into the holiday week, and should be some good games to catch up on, and then, of course, conference play kicking off really in full stride once we turn the calendar to January. For this episode of Anything But Mid, I'm Ian Sachs, signing off. Have a good holiday and enjoy the games. Thank you.